and welcome to episode 56 of What If Civilization Started Over. Let's get into it. So I'm not just... Why are these on this layer? Oh my... Problem fixed. So, let's get into it. So today, the Cold War is going to be ramping up even more, starting with the daily nuclear bomb updates, starting with the red team, and making sure I'm on the right layer. So the red team has been developing their nuclear bombs pretty quickly, and I think we can also move these green dots by now. Yeah, there. Oh, and also Ireland. And now the red team has 20 nuclear bombs. That's a lot. Well, that does come with other countries getting a bunch of nuclear bombs as well. Like China's developing even faster, and now they have 15. And the yellow team now has 6. Yeah. And Russia now is getting really close to the red team, now having 18. Somehow. Yeah. All these countries are developing their nuclear bombs very fast. Yeah. So far the communists don't have any nuclear bombs yet. Until now. They have 1 nuclear bomb. Yeah. What's this red dot doing here? I don't know. But it's time to talk about the Americas today because we also need to talk about ideologies. This happened in Southern Africa, and North America is gaining a bunch of stuff. In South America, we get the ideology later on. I think dictatorship or authoritarianism is pretty much extinct. Oh yeah, it is extinct. So I think I will be keeping the ideology because some countries are going to be switching. Like these 2 countries here, and the Ecuadorian country, are going to switch to dictatorship. And the dictatorships, something about them is they'll be able to align with either communism or fascism. Yeah. And a bunch of the other flawed democracies around the world will become dictatorships. Some others will become, other normal democracies, full democracies, but Europe countries will stay as flawed democracy. Yeah. And this is going to cause some tensions, as now it's time to expand alliances. The fascist alliance is going to get this country in its alliance, and this country. Yeah. And also in the Americas, the communist alliance is going to basically need as much help as they can, since they're not nearly as strong. But they will be able to convince these countries here to join their alliance. But the thing is, they could switch at any time. But they are key positions to keeping stability in South America and have communism. Yeah. And now we're going to be looking at these 2, blue countries here. They're both in the Organization of Nations. They both are democratic. They also both are not in an alliance. Not in an alliance. So they're going to unite. So now we have... what color will look good? Not sure. Would this color look good? That? Or that? Why don't we do an in-between? Yeah, let's do that. And because they're both democracy, and they both are in the Organization of Nations, they will decide to put their capital in the Venezuelan one. Like that. And also Trinidad. There. And now we have another pretty big-ish South American nation. There. And some other countries here are going to be joining certain alliances. I mean, the Organization of Nations. More countries are going to join it. Let's see what countries join it. So these 2 countries are going to be joining it, and so is this country. And And also dictatorships are not allowed. But oh, these two countries are communist. Sorry about that, but you're not in the Organization of Nations anymore. And this is going to make the communist bloc pretty mad. And also the fascist bloc to an extent. Also, this country is going to join. Yeah, that's pretty much the whole Americas that aren't communist. And the Organization of Nations. The Organization of Nations is getting more and more members very quickly. As these new countries here will also be joining it. Like this. All of these will be joining. And also a bunch of these countries here. And, yeah, like this. But this yellow country will refuse to join, even though all their neighbors have. Yeah. So far the Organization of Nations is becoming really popular. Almost all of Africa's in it except Libya. Why would I go just to Libya randomly? Okay, they're fascist. And if I can find the layer, because there's so many layers, there's like 8 layers here. They also join, okay. Make sure that's the right layer, which it is. And, this is not gonna sit well with some countries. And some more countries in Arabia are going to be joining the Organization of Nations, such as this monarchist country, and the democratic ones here, like this, and also Israel and a bunch of other countries here. So far, the Organization of Nations is trusted. But the thing that isn't really trusted about it is that they aren't really like the Cold War. It's not really being situated too well. Yeah. Nuclear bombs are being ramped up greatly, and alliances are going up greatly as well. And some countries are having a kind of a hard time trusting it. Just to say. Now it's time to see what countries may join other alliances, like the Triangle Alliance. I'm going to need the ideology layers on for this, to make sure I don't put a dictatorship in the triangles. Because, some of these African countries will be joining the Triangle Alliance. Specifically these 4. Yeah, that's something. But also, if we go over to the Americas, these 2 will be joining the triangles. Yeah. And also, this country here. In this country. Other than that, not much help for triangles. But so far we haven't had much change to the map. Other than, this. But now it's time for, the sort of proxy war thing. First, or second, or third, I'm not sure. Proxy war. Because for some reason, the Americans will be invading the Louisianians for some reason. Oh, and also, to have a mix with this, you, over here, you will be joining the Square Alliance. There. And the Americans are basically, this is an operation in order to take out the biggest rival, which is Louisiana or Quebec. Even though they are a pretty strong power. They will be going in with almost no help from the Triangle Alliance, and basically these 2 are just fighting each other with basically no help. And they also want to get rid of this border guard. Yeah, it's not going very well. Until Diamond Alliance troops arrive from China. As, who does the Central American country join when it comes to alliances? They join the Diamond Alliance. That is a very big country to just get in the Diamond Alliance. Because, that is going to make it so much easier to send aid across the world. Because the Panama Canal is within there. And with troops from China arriving, they will be able to push into the Americas pretty big. And they will also be able to do this, yeah. But the Floridians will also start to invade in order to stop. This won't cause a nuclear war, but it will cause a sort of proxy war. Millions of troops fighting and taking over this area. Yeah. But also the Triangle Alliance and this country will be responding to Louisiana country by declaring war on it. And also the Triangle Alliance, or the Red Team, is going to be sending aid. And then eventually, after a long time of fighting, eventually the Louisiana country doesn't get a lot of support because of certain events going on back at home that I will talk about later. So Louisiana loses their capital and is forced to surrender. Let's look at a peace treaty. And this is the peace treaty. So this country, the blue country will be getting this, and the other blue country will be getting this. And Louisiana is allowed to keep their ideology, which I can move that. And same thing with their alliance. They are allowed to keep that. But it's not just Florida. It's the Americas. They're expanding into Florida. And now, the invasion of Florida is not looked at very well. Because the Americans just fought out of war and, yeah. Let's look at a peace treaty. And guess what? No, not that. Full annexation. Yeah, full annexation. And it's not going to be looked at very well by the communists and the fascists and everybody. Yeah, not looking very good. But what are those issues in China, you may ask? Let's see. Okay, now there's rebels from fascism in China, and yeah, the communists, the fascists, totally aren't giving support to this, and this is a very hard battle to fight, and this will lower the amount of nuclear bombs that have to be produced next episode. But this thing is defeated, and China is mad at them. Yeah, understandably. Now it's time to look at these three countries here, and these three countries are going to unify. They are all going to unify into one pink country that looks something like this. Their capital is going to be the Bangladeshi capital. If I can erase the other two, their ideology is obviously going to be communism because they're all communist. And when it comes to alliances, yeah, still in the same alliance, like this. Yeah. Right? There. Yeah, now those three countries are unified. Now it's time to look at Europe. We haven't had or really done much with Europe ever since, well, World War I happened. Yeah. But two countries are going to be going to war. Those two countries are going to be the Greek and Albanian countries. Do you know why? Wait, is this the color? No. The Greeks won't have claim over some of these Albanian lands, so they're going to be declaring war. And when they go in, they will be pretty successful. Till the Albanians will be getting support from the Triangle Alliance for some reason. Yeah. Because they don't like the Greeks. Because of this. Because the Greeks have switched their ideology, and now they're fascist. So the Triangle Alliance is funding the Albanians. And the Albanians are doing pretty well, and are almost at the capital, and they actually do take the capital before the fascists will start funding the Greeks as well. And, yeah. So, and this is a lot of back and forth until eventually the Greek capital is forced to be taken by the Albanians because the Triangle Alliance is giving more support, and eventually the Greeks will surrender. Let's look at a peace treaty. And this is the peace treaty. So the capital is going to be moved all the way to here, And when it comes to their ideology, bye-bye fascism. You do not belong in Greece. Now you're flawed democracy. But when it comes to, the neighbor, they become full-on democracy. They will become democracy instead of a flawed democracy. And then they will join the Triangle Alliance. There. That's the first thing that happens in Europe in a little while. And then the Diamond Alliance is going to gain this country as one of its members for some reason. Yeah. Why? Not sure. Now it's time to talk about the Organization of Nations. Because the Organization of Nations is kind of getting a bunch of backlash from, its member states and countries that aren't in it, because it's banning communism and fascist countries from joining it. And this is going to cause some countries to leave. The first one to leave is going to be the yellow country here, and then the Irish country, and then the Germanic country. And then some more African countries, even the ones that just joined, are going to follow. Like, a bunch of these Central African countries are going to leave. But with the exception of these 3 northern countries, and a bunch of these other countries down south are going to leave. Because they don't trust it anymore. And a bunch of these other countries are going to leave in Arabia. So, that quickly, the Organization of Nations went from the biggest organization in the world to being what it is now. Because many countries are leaving, including the blue one. Yeah. And, that country. And very quickly, many nations will be leaving the organization in order to pursue other opportunities, and now see it as the red team trying to influence them, as many more countries in the Americas will be leaving. And majority of the Organization of Nations has left the Organization of Nations. And that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. See you in the next episode, and bye!